Okay, so we got news from David Saunders from the Kentucky Lake Kiteboarding Group yesterday that he took a pretty bad spill, and he was able to tell his story about how he got picked up and up about 30 feet in the air on a loft near the shoreline, tried to make it back into the water, which he did. It's very shallow. He got pulled into the trees. This was all from a very strong gust of wind that seemingly came out of nowhere. So David, first of all, I want to tell you that a lot of us are thinking about you. Hope that you pull through well and that you heal fast. I know you've got some doctor's visits ahead you're not looking forward to, and we definitely want you to get better as soon as you can and not let it discourage you and get back on the water. So I did want to take a minute though to kind of look at the area because it kind of piqued my interest on how a gust of wind could come out of nowhere, and I did want to look at the area now. When we talk about Lake Kentucky, we have these Finger Lakes that are right here along the Tennessee and Kentucky border, and this is where the lakes are that he's talking about. So they're sort of a north to south lake, so they're really rideable on a north wind, and it seemed like there was about a 10-knot wind that was funneling through that area yesterday. It looked like post-frontal. The frontal boundary that came across South Carolina and North Carolina yesterday was right about here, and it traversed the area last night. Now, what there was, you had a jet stream dipping down, so you had an upper level trough that was sort of cruising through the area even behind the front, with drier, cooler air diving down behind it. Now what it looked like behind here was a possible area of wake low pressure that was dropping down from the north-northwest. And if we put that radar in motion, the reason why I have this radar, I wanted to capture a little area. These little storms were heading in this direction. They sort of fizzled out and they kind of went over this way along that jet stream, but not before giving what's called an outflow boundary. Now when we put this loop, I'm going to put this on play here, and I want you to take a quick peek. And here's the storm line coming, dropping down from the northwest. Now what we have is a line of thunderstorms right here, and right here it's barely visible. I could not get it on velocity radar, but there is an outflow boundary that is right about here, well ahead of these storms. An outflow boundary is generated when storms release a lot of energy all at one time, and it's sort of like a force field or a field of energy that's shot out ahead of the storm line, and it's called an outflow boundary. So what that would do is that would definitely give you a gust of wind in that area, and it's sort of arcing like this and passing down into this area. So whatever was there, if you had 10-knot winds, depending on how strong that outflow boundary was, you're probably looking at about a 15 to 20-knot boost on top of it, depending on how strong the storm. Sometimes these storms release that in what's called downdrafting or microbursts closer to them, and they can be 40 to 50 knots higher. So pretty dangerous situation there, but I'm going to go ahead and play this loop a little bit more and see if we can get an idea where it is. And let's stop it right there. You can barely see the outflow boundary coming through. So I'm going to switch over to this radar and see if we can get a better idea. Now this one's a little bit more exact over the area, and here come those storms again down from the northwest, and I'm going to slow this loop down so we can see what that outflow boundary is. And right there, barely visible like I said, and it's sometimes very hard to catch these on radar because they are invisible. There isn't really any rain or anything associated with. There might be some clouding, maybe a roll cloud or some type of very thin cloud line associated that rushes through the area pretty quick, and most of the time that goes unnoticed, but as it comes down, that's what caused your winds to come up in that area. So I did look over our Datascope products for that area, and what I found was the only weather station that really picked up on that one was this weather station here with Stille Hollow. You don't have really any stations on Kentucky Lake or Cumberland River for that matter. You have some other various weather stations from probably One to Ground Network that are placed up in the hills. So you're looking at sort of a kind of a land shadowed area, and if you look here you see this gust right after 4 o'clock. Now I believe your event happened a little bit before 4 o'clock, but either way you can see this outflow boundary where it caused this gust. Now this gust of wind on the high line hit 20 knots there, so we can only assume that over a nice clean surface of this lake on a north or north-northwest wind that you would see that huge spike in winds. I mean you probably got to 30 or 35 knots in that area, if not higher. And with the topography of this land, there's always a lifting mechanism as well. So when you have that Venturi effect and winds funneling down the lake and then getting close to an outcrop of land or even near a hill and get a little bit of a westerly tinge to it, you probably got lifted that 30 feet. So just wanted to kind of go over some forensics for that area and give you an idea of what happened. It's not something that you can expect or you can predict. It's something that you always have to be prepared for from outflows from storms even nearby in the region. So there isn't really much advice I can say about it other than just keep an eye on storms, post-frontal storms, even ones after your cold fronts go through, because you may have another area of wake low pressure or just an area of storming that develops behind it as that cooler air dives in behind the cold fronts, especially in your neck of the woods behind the Appalachian Mountains. You kind of get sort of a lee side or even a windward side storm line that develops. So anyways, we hope that you get better, Dave, and you got my number. Always feel free to give me a call. Talk to you later. Thanks for watching.